everybody. Ron Wildman in here on your Middle Georgia Spotlight. Our special guest on this third Tuesday in the month of October, when we're taping this thing, is Liz Fabian. Liz, first of all, explain who you work for, because you got your fingers on everything in the Macon area.
It gets complicated because people really don't understand, because they see me on Channel 13, they see my stories sometimes in the Telegraph or the Macon Melody or even the Monroe Reporter or on the website of WGXA or wherever.
I get stuff on my Facebook page.
You do, that's right. Well, technically, I am employed through Mercer University through a grant from the Peyton Anderson Foundation, and prior to this year, the Knight Foundation. So I am at the Center for Collaborative Journalism at Mercer, which is not only the journalism school, but it's a collaborative with what we call the Macon Newsroom, which is our operation, Channel 13, the Telegraph, Georgia Public Broadcasting, and the Macon Melody. So we're all kind of working together, and we've done projects in the past, but my role as the Civic Journalism Senior Fellow is to go and sit in all of the government meetings.
How many?
There's over 4 boards and authorities. I don't go to all of them anymore, but I do try to keep my hand on a lot of them, just to keep focused. You know, when you were a reporter at Channel 13 in the early days, you stayed at City Hall pretty much all day. I mean, when you weren't running around, but you were in all the meetings, you knew what was going on. But the way the newsrooms are staffed now, and they're going all over Middle Georgia, I mean, people just don't have the time to sit in the meetings. So I get to kind of watch everything that's going on, and I have the continuity between the different organizations. You know, sometimes I'll be in a meeting and somebody will turn around, Liz, do you know what they did in such and such meeting? And I was like, yes, they're not going to do that until this or that. So it's really kind of keeping tabs on the government.
You probably don't know why I mentioned the third Tuesday of the month. That's Pedestrian Safety Review Board.
Yes.
And I'm on that board, and you were there, as usual, covering that meeting. But the thing that came up during the meeting, and this leads to some other things, they said, does anybody have any suggestions about unusual street corner that might be dangerous or this and that? And here's Liz. And now that surprised me. I didn't know you got involved with these meetings.
Well, it's the public comment period, and it's the end of the meeting, and so there was no other member of the public there.
Well, we weren't saying anything.
I'm a journalist, you weren't saying anything, but it was just something that I was going to share with the board afterwards, so I just took the opportunity during public comments to just kind of share my little intersection that they might want to take a look at.
Tell me about that intersection. I'm interested. I'm on the board now, don't forget.
You are on the board.
But I might have been asleep at that time and not paying attention.
They were talking about different places that they've gone during Pedestrian Safety Month, which is the month of October, and they've gone to Spring and Riverside, and they've gone to different other locations, I think Pinono and Anthony Road, other places. But the intersection I was talking about is at College Street and Forsyth Street.
With a tight turn there.
Well, it's not only a tight turn there, but you have people coming from St. Paul's Apartments. Some of them are in wheelchairs, some of them are using walkers, and I've noticed that a lot of them don't cross in the crosswalk because they're afraid when people are turning
that they'll
hit them.
That's right.
You know, and so they go in between the cars that are stacked up, which, you know, I just hold my breath because there's 2 lanes going inbound there, so the people who are coming to turn right, somebody could walk out from in between cars and get hit right there.
On top of that, they come up Forsyth Street 80 miles an hour a lot of times. Yeah. And I mean, that is a very unusual intersection, and I'm glad you brought it up.
So I guess I'm still a member of the public, but I was just, I share things from time to time.
You're the eyes and ears of the public at all these board meetings and stuff. Like, how does your week start? What do you look ahead to?
Well, pretty much most of the boards and authorities that I cover are in a regular meeting schedule. Like, for instance, you know, we know the county commission usually meets on the 1st and 3rd Tuesdays, and then they have a work session or a committee meeting on the 2nd morning of the Tuesday. But now sometimes it's tricky because folks, you know, around the holidays, they'll be shifting their schedules around, or a lot of boards don't meet either in July or August. And so others might have retreats, but I just kind of keep the calendar on my devices, on my phone, on my computer. And so every Monday I start out and I let all our partners know with the TV and the radio and the newspapers what meetings I'm planning to be at. So if they have anything that they're looking at or a story that they're interested in, I can share what I've found. And, just today, I was publishing my summation of our most recent Ask Mayor Miller program. Every month I sit down with the mayor and we get the questions from the public, but we also get questions from our fellow journalists at the Center for Collaborative Journalism. And so I just kind of put out the whole kinds of different things that the mayor said. So today when I was sending the message to everybody, letting them know that that story had published, I included a couple of things that he spoke about for the first time on the record so that they are aware of it. It's kind of like my boss likes to call it a wire service. Like I'm kind of like a wire service because all of my reporting, since it's grant funded, I'm not worried about any competitors. I'm not worried about, the TV station, like one TV station have it and the other not, it's levels the playing field. I mean, the interest is just getting the information out there. It's not what you can get in return from the eyes of, going toward the advertiser dollars or whatever.
Well, I remember when we were together over at WGXA, we competed and we loved it. And wow. Is it hard to get used to the way you have to do it now?
It was a little hard for me. Because, as you're trying to overtake the number one station or whatever, trying to get as much, we worked so hard, they always say like number two, we try harder or whatever, but, it's not about who had it first. To me, it's just that the information gets out there. And I know that when I have a really good story, that I won't be able to keep it to myself. Like, just a case in point, when I was at Complete Streets, I think, which meets quarterly before Pedestrian Safety Review Board, and they happened to mention the reversible lane lights on Vineville, and this was several months ago, and they talked about how one of them went out because there was a car crash and took out the box, and they had to kind of borrow parts from another one because there may not be any other reversible lane highways in Georgia anymore except for ours. And so the parts were all obsolete, and so they weren't sure they'd have to do. And then when I was out there writing the story, I happened to see some people working on the boxes, and I went by, and it was Macon Bib folks, and they told me that there was a gecko had gotten into that box and short-circuited it and burned it all up. So a gecko, a
little Geico gecko?
Well, it wasn't the Geico one, but it was a gecko. So that, of course, that became part of it. And then one of the other reporters, and I loved, every once in a while you'll get a headline and you go, oh, I really like that headline. And this one I liked was that, what was it now? It was like Vineville suicide lane near death. Because, they called that reversible lane the suicide lane. So I thought, suicide and death playing in that. So anyway, but what happened is that story, instead of my story being the one out there, everybody wanted to do their own. And the poor gecko got blamed for shutting down the whole thing. I saw recently, because Channel 13 did an update that they've now repaired. It's a GDOT highway. So the city of Macon was kind of waiting for what the Georgia Department of Transportation would do, because it's really their responsibility. And they managed to find parts or make parts or get parts. And so it's all put back up there. But, I saw a headline, something about that the gecko caused the issue. And it wasn't really. The issue was that the machines were past their life cycle and they couldn't be replaced. But just because the gecko was in there on one of the boxes, they got blamed.
Those machines have been up there as long as we've been in Macon.
Right.
Unbelievable. The year got started with a bang.
Yes, it did. And the reason I have my computer here today is because Ron said, we're going to talk about the whole year. And I was like, oh my gosh, so much has happened this year when you go back, because Ron was saying, hey, we'll talk about the year. And then you and I were both thinking about what happened on January 1.
Well, my mind's all blank about the year. I remember the Hilton being blown up, but other than that.
You and I are probably the only ones who still call it the Hilton.
Yeah, I sure did.
From my standpoint, it's like it was built as a Hilton.
Yes, it was.
It was a Hilton.
Loved it.
And, sure, it was a Ramada and the downtown hotel and the Crown Plaza and stuff like that, but it was built as the Hilton. And when Elvis stayed there. It was the Hilton.
Yeah,
So,
yes.
anyway, you and I think of it as the Hilton. Everybody else thinks of it as what used to be there.
Well, that led to what's going to happen there now. A lot of the plans were announced during this year.
Yes.
And you were there when they
so
announced them.
much.
Yeah.
Well, when we started adding up all the different projects that could be included in the 2025 SPLOST, that was a big thing that happened in March, that election, the passage of the SPLOST, which is going to raise $480 million over 10 years. And really, we're into the billions of dollars when you add up all the different proposals. And of course, what's going to happen there, there's already been plans designed for a new civic center, kind of convention center hotel. So at least the plans I've seen so far, there's that civic center, place for meeting rooms, and then there's a hotel. Then across the street, you have that whole area of Riverside Drive, what was built 40-something years ago.
The old
DeSoto's
bus.
Landing, the old Macon Transit Authority
yeah.
garage, and the
Yeah.
old facilities management
Yep.
office back there was in the corner. So of course, that whole area, that acreage was bought from the UDA, the Urban Development Authority, by Mercer University. So Mercer's going to put their new medical school as close to the river as you can get there in the corner. Then the county bought up the gas station there that used to be Jumbo's Gas and Go, and now it's just a dilapidated place where vagrants have gone in and ripped out everything, and everything's all
Still
trashed.
selling gas on the sign for a good price, I stop there every once in a while hoping it's true.
Yeah, trying to get the good price on the gas. But, so that's going to be the Trailhead Park for Okmulgee Heritage Trail, which eventually, will be linked all throughout from as far south, south the Okmulgee Mounds, and then all the way up to River North. I mean, it's going to be fabulous once
Just
it's
this
all-
week, they had a big announcement.
Well, they're applying for a grant. As we're recording this program, the county commission will be voting tonight as to whether they will go for this grant and then put up the matching funds for it to
I can't
expand
imagine
the
them
trail.
turning that down.
No. I mean, it's just the process. And I think I totaled it up. There's like almost $30 million of projects or spending on tonight's budget. And that's how it's, really coming out.
Well, we got the medical school plus the convention center or whatever it's going to be. And what about a replacement for the Coliseum?
Placement for the Coliseum, that's something else. When the mayor was talking about the SPLOST vote, that was one of the things that he's been talking about for a while. And even last year, I think there were news conferences about trying to get more sports teams to come to town. Because you remember, they were talking about Flag City Shootout. I remember you were so into going and getting video highlights for Flag City. Remember when Flag City was at Carolyn Creighton Park, then Central City Park. And so they've been doing a lot of work in that park, trying to get it back up in the running to do something like a Flag City. But then there's also the basketball tournaments, the GISA and the high school associations that have been coming to the Coliseum for years, but now there are other newer facilities in other parts of the state. So the mayor says he's really just trying to be competitive by having a new arena. And if you've seen some of the prototypes, some of the proposed designs, they really want it to be a showplace because of all the cars going by on I-16
Oh, yeah.
all the time, passing it. They want it to look like something so that people go by, they're like, ooh, wow, that's something in Macon. And of course, that's right on the other side of the East Bank development where the old Bill Mill site was, which could be the new entrance if the national park goes through, if Okmulgee Mounds become Georgia's first national park, and all of that development over there. And just learned that the Secretary of State's office is probably going to be demolished there. They've already moved to their new offices at Arkwright. So there's a lot going on there. Bicentennial Park is just about complete. They're getting ready to cut the ribbon on that. I don't know if you've been over there, where Clinton Street and Main Street kind of come together there. You go up the hill on Main Street, it says, Macon's first neighborhood, East Macon and all of that. But that just open area next to the Mill Hill Community Arts Center is now Bicentennial Park. And it's a beautiful green space, and there's massive pieces of artwork in there. The Macon Arts Alliance did a whole call for international artists, and they've gotten people from all over the world to come and do these beautiful pieces of artwork that are designed to pay homage to Macon's history and the bicentennial from before, with the Native Americans, through these 200 years, and how people have come together and reconciled differences that are centuries old.
Well, while in the neighborhood, what's the situation with the mounds, the Indian mounds?
Mounds. Well, as far as the mayor is concerned, when we were talking about it, asked Mayor Miller, whenever there's interest, whenever there's something in the news about the potential for the new park, that's when their phone starts ringing, because all these developers are interested now in that proposal. But it's up there and it's ready to be attached to another bill. I mean, because they have support from both houses, they have support from both parties. All of the local legislative, congressional representatives from Georgia, I think except for one, have signed on to it. So they just think it's ready to go at any time. It just they have to find the appropriate piece of legislation to tack that onto.
So it won't be long.
Well,
And then
I
in
don't
East
know.
Macon, we haven't had any real tourist development over there, like across the street from the entryway. I can see motels and restaurants, new ones.
That's what they're thinking, and that East Bank development would certainly be a place for a hotel, particularly, if the park. I mean, because it's the park and the preserve will be just such a game changer. I know that the Convention and Visitors Bureau, Visit Macon, they have just talked about how, we'll be having over 1 million visitors a year within 10 years.
Yes.
And just what that does and the amount of hotels you need, the restaurants, just the attractions. And that's part of the reason I think the mayor was really, and others like Gary Wheat, Visit Macon, they understand that the way conventions go now, and you go to these cities, people like to be within walking spaces of everything. Because, if you're flying in to a convention, a lot of times you don't even run a car. You're just, stuck in whatever city you're in near that place and where you can walk to. And just the idea of putting something downtown, a convention center downtown, so people can walk to Cherry Street and Poplar Street and to Capricorn Records and places like that, Otis Redding Center for the Arts, and not have to cross the interstate. Because part of the Macon Action Plan XL included a potential pedestrian bridge across the Ocmulgee River, which is a very big ticket item. So to move, at least having some meeting space on this side. And I think I heard Mercer President Bill Underwood say it best in one of our meetings. He said, because when you go to a convention, what do you want? You want access to the bars. So it was just,
And he doesn't drink, he doesn't use them.
But he knows enough people who go to conventions, though, and so to have that within walking distance is the whole rationale behind that. And then, people aren't thinking about it much because the mayor hasn't said too much about this one, really not letting on what he's got planned, but that whole development where the health department used to be, back when it used to be Zayres and Kroger on Emory Highway, 171 Emory Highway, where the Middle Georgia Regional Commission was, and now River Edge is still there, but are going to move at some point. All of that is another clean slate for a $300 to $400 million development. You start adding all of these up, and like I said, we were well over $2 billion worth of projects for a $480 million splost.
Speaking of millions of dollars, the amphitheater was open this year.
Last year.
Last year. Well,
Yeah,
that's right. But this year it really got going.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, really. I think there were 2 back-to-back sellouts this year with this fall with the Red Clay Strays and was it Hank Williams Jr.?
Yeah,
Somebody
Hank
came
Williams
in
Jr.
Yeah, that's it.
Who else?
That's right. But we're expecting, at least anticipating that there'll be more development around the mall. I mean, I think there was talk even before Whole Property Group signed over half the mall about potential for maybe a casino development there or something to complement the amphitheater.
I do my fill-in walking there when the weather's not conducive outside, and I run into you going to a meeting here or there. What do you think about the way they are developing the mall? I love the mall, first of all. Oh, it's a wonderful place. But there's, 90% of it is vacant right
Right.
now. But they're putting offices in there.
Yes, there's quite a number of them already. I mean, the Planning and Zoning Commission is in there, the Safe Built, the inspection and fees kind of business permitting, licensing, not licensing, permitting for construction, the business, that aspect, the inspections and fees, the fire and what have you. And then there's, of course, the Board of Elections is down there. Middle Georgia Regional Commission is there. I understand maybe some state offices will be going in there. But I think everybody's kind of waiting. They ask me all the time, when is there going to be retail? When is there going to be another restaurant? And even we had a company come into town for the Red Clay Strays, and one of them was concerned about, that part of town. But there is no that part of town anymore, I mean, it's...
Well, the mall is its own town.
It is,
It
yes.
is.
And it's so clean, and it's so nice and well-run, and it's
Pickleball.
pickleball. Have you been in that place?
I've been in there, yeah.
You haven't played, though, have you?
Oh, no.
No. It looks like fun, doesn't it?
The game's too slow for me.
Is it? Oh, yeah. That's it. But yeah, that's a beautiful place there. And just the way, that's another example of this sports tourism marketing and the way that they're getting creative with ideas. Like I remember, they had tournaments around Valentine's Day and spread it out over a couple of days so people would spend the night. And, and they spend the night and then they're buying their food here and they're buying their gasoline. They're, anything else that they spend here is contributing to our SPLOST collection, and all of that money, offsets what we have in the general fund to do projects like this.
And to see that parking lot with hundreds of cars in it,
Does a heart good, doesn't it?
well, I go back to when it opened up 50 years ago, and wall-to-wall people out there.
Yeah.
And
I remember at Christmas time too, the lots, and they'd have to have the golf carts taking people, and all of the employees had to park
Park
way
up on the hill,
back
yeah.
skirts. And, it'd be nice to see it full again.
Do you have a favorite one of these organizations you cover, or are they all the same?
Goodness.
Like, I love all my children type thing?
I do. Well, I mean, they all have different personalities, and then you kind of run in cycles. When I first started, the Water Authority was kind of a dry meeting. It was just like, oh, we're going to spend this, we're going to do that, we're going to build that, we're going to whatever. And then, all of a sudden, things just kind of heated up over there, and we had some controversy, and then we had directors leave and changes, and now, there's new members on the board, and it just seems like it's in a more contentious season than it has been. So it just kind of comes and goes, ebbs and flows, and same thing depending on the political makeup that you have on the county commission or city council as to whether meetings flow quickly or whether there are a lot of questions or a lot of opposition or whatever. So, and it would be hard to kind of pick a favorite meeting, I would think. Just like I think you can appreciate the way we've worked in news, like we weren't ever really tied down to one thing. I mean, you spent a lot of time at City Hall, and that was your focus for a long, long time when you were at Channel 13. But when you were news director and hired me over at Channel 24, like we were all over. I mean, all over the place. So I like having the little different flavors of things. There's a lot of business with the county commission, but then every once in a while I get to write about neighborhood cleanups with Keep Making Bid Beautiful or something like that, do something a little bit more of a feature. And so.
Well, we're getting close to the end of the year, not quite to the end of the year, but close enough we can kind of do, what do you think about this year?
Wow, is what I think about this year. I mean, not just on the local level, but on the national level.
Oh,
I mean,
through the roof.
Well, I mean, it just, when you think about a news cycle and you think about stories that are major stories, you think, but they're gone the next week because there's another major story that's come up, and not all of them are good. I mean, most times it's bad news that replaces one after another. But this year has really kind of been incredible, I think, for a lot of different things. We haven't even talked about the airport. They've now broken ground on this guitar-shaped fixed-based operation, executive terminal, that people flying over Macon for years to come are going to look down and see that guitar, and it's going to resonate with them somehow. You know, oh, Macon, the pilots are going to say, that's the place with the guitar. You know, I mean, it's just those kinds of things that, and then particularly in the last year, more so maybe last year than this year, all of those write-ups that we got about, you know, top 10 places to visit in the country, or, you know, top 50 places in the world. I mean, we're making these lists, whether it's for the Okmulgee Mounds, or whether it's for the Christmas light spectacular downtown, or for whatever reason, the eyes of the world have been on Macon in these past couple of years.
Coming down Poplar Street today, they're decorating the...
Brian Nichols, on Brian Nichols Way, right?
That's really grown over the recent years,
Yeah.
hasn't it?
Yes, and it's amazing. And I just saw today in my inbox that the Pops Orchestra will be able to play their concert on Black Friday. That's been a tradition with my family for a while now. I don't know if you've ever gone down there, but it's just top-notch musicians. They've got a huge stage that they set up, but it was in jeopardy this year because it costs a lot of money. And the Macon Pops, you know, I mean, they're a nonprofit organization. They're just out there, the musicians, trying to do the best they can. But other foundations, like the Josephine Phelps Foundation, I think the Peyton Anderson and the Knight Foundation, they've all kind of ponied up money so that they can have that free concert. And it's great. Everybody comes on Poplar Street. Some people bring chairs. Everybody's mulling around, and the lights and the music, and it's just a wonderful time.
You always hear about these Christmas festivals over in Europe.
Oh,
Germany
yeah.
and various countries. It seems like we got the groundwork to have something like that here.
Well, guess what, Ron?
What?
There's
What?
absolutely a Christmas market this year in Macon.
See, you know everything.
I do.
See?
Everything.
I don't. Tell me
Yeah,
about
it's
it.
going to be wonderful. It's going to be down in Cherry Street Plaza, and they are going to have booths set up, just like any of the little European markets that you can go to, and it'll be in the month of December. As far as I know, I don't have all the details. I could probably find it on my computer, but there is going to be a Christmas market downtown in between the Tubman and the sports hall. You know, that plaza there will be really cool.
Well, that'd be great. Hope,
It is.
Hope to see that grow over the years, because that's a big tourist thing in those countries over there. Yeah. Going down the road after Christmas, you looking ahead to next year any?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of things. I started a tradition when I got here 6 years ago, and that was what, 1999? Oh, yeah, so it was 20 things to look forward to in 2020. And then it became 21 things, and 22 things, 23, 24, 25. But anyway, I try to look ahead because, you know, from the news business, the second half of December is pretty slow. And so in order to have content, fill a hole, as you would say, you know, in the newscast goes on whether or not there's any news, so you always have to have all those slots filled. So I put together a little preview of what's coming up. So I'm always looking ahead, and so I know, you know, that we'll have groundbreakings here and there, but there'll be a lot going on, particularly even, you know, the Georgia legislature will be cranked up. We're going to have a gubernatorial race next year, so there'll be a lot of political stuff. There'll be a lot of ads, but probably not much done at the legislature because everybody wants to stay, you know, keep things quieter during election years.
Speaking of the legislature, my next guest next week will be
Yeah?
Dale Washburn.
Oh, great.
Of course, his big issue are those speed cameras. Do you ever run into any of that stuff?
I have not gotten a ticket.
I
That's what you're
I mean, do you ever cover any stories concerning speed
I
cameras?
have a little bit, usually when it, you know, there's so much going on with the different meetings. I pretty much stick with the meetings and report out of the meetings. I don't usually just kind of branch off and do other stories, but so like if they're adding new cameras or if they're using the money from the cameras, I'll write about that. But I usually have so much keeping me busy that I don't go out and do specific issues.
We've covered 2025. We'll come back
Just
and
a fraction.
do it again next year.
Right.
Liz, thank you for being with us.
You're welcome.
Have a
Ron.
nice holiday season.
You too. Merry Christmas.
That's the first one I got this year. And Merry Christmas to you folks. That's to be your first time. I'm Ron Wildman over here at Mercer University on your Middle Georgia Spotlight.